In this exercise, we're being asked to integrate secant 4 theta, tan 4 theta, d theta. One thing that jumps out at me right off the bat is this composition that we have with this 4 theta. It seems a little unusual that there's two terms that have composition with 4 theta, but we'll see how that plays out at the end. The most natural thing to do seems to be a u-Substitution because of this composition, where we will let u equal 4 theta, and that'll make the du equal to 4 d theta. So if I do the substitution, then I'll have the integral of, this will be a secant of u times a tangent of u. That certainly looks better, but to get a du, I'm supposed to have 4 d theta, and unfortunately all I have is a d theta. So as I have to often do, I'll tweak this integrand by a constant. I'll put a 4 in the integrand so that I have a 4 d theta, and because of the addition of this 4, I'll put a 1/4 on the outside of the limit of integration. So this will be 1/4 integral secant u tan u, and then the 4 d theta, that's the same thing as du. So secant u tan u du. That looks better, but even this is not immediately obvious unless we know our derivative rules really well. And one of the derivative rules in dealing with trig functions that I know very well is that the derivative of secant x was secant x tangent x. That's a trig derivative that we're very familiar with. So it only stands to reason then that the integral of secant tangent would give you secant. In other words, the antiderivative of secant x tan x, or secant u tan u, or whatever you call it, would be secant of x or secant of u, or what have you. So this integral right here would be 1/4 secant of u plus c. And I know that's correct because if you take this guy's derivative, the derivative for secant, you would get secant tangent. So this is correct. And so our final answer, we would simply just need to take this u out and write whatever it was back in terms of theta. So if we go back up, we'll see our choice of u right here in this line right here was that u was equal to 4 theta. So I'll take that u out and replace it with 4 theta. 1/4 secant 4 theta plus c. So that would be our final answer. So this one was a pretty straightforward one. It was a little unusual having the two terms that had 4 theta, but as we can tell, sometimes that's the way it happens.